Serbia's streets have exploded into open confrontation. Protesters demanding early elections face riot police, masked paramilitaries, and party-linked thugs. What began as outrage over a deadly accident has morphed into a direct challenge to President Aleksandar Vucic's rule. Vucic brands the demonstrators terrorists and blames the West. With nightly clashes, arrests and offices of the ruling party in flames, Serbia is sliding into its gravest political crisis in over a decade. Protests in Serbia stretched into a seventh night on August 18th, with violent clashes between anti-government demonstrators, regime loyalists, and riot police becoming a nightly routine. Protesters demanding early elections attacked offices of President Aleksandar Vucic's ruling SNS party late on August 18th before being pushed back by riot police, AFP quoting their photographer reported. The generally peaceful anti-government protests underway since November have turned increasingly violent over the past week. Rioters, often wearing face masks, have damaged or demolished offices of the Serbian Progressive Party, SNS, in recent days, particularly in Belgrade, Novi Sad and Valjevo. Several thousand protesters took to the streets of Belgrade and several other cities on the evening of August 18th. Riot police pushed back demonstrators who had thrown rocks and stun grenades at the SNS office in Belgrade. Protests in Serbia have been a routine affair ever since 16 people died when a concrete canopy at the Novi Sad train station collapsed in November 2024. The mostly student protesters initially demanded a transparent investigation into the tragedy, which they blamed on corruption. But since May, they have also been calling for early elections, which Vucic, who has ruled Serbia since 2014, has rejected, claiming the protests are a foreign plot to overthrow him. The government's hardening stance appears calculated to provoke and discredit the protest movement by portraying it as violent and illegitimate. President Aleksandar Vucic's administration has framed protesters as disruptors or agents of a foreign-instigated colour revolution from the start. At the same time, the opposition remains fragmented and without a clear leadership or platform. The student movement has consciously avoided formal alliances with traditional opposition parties, many of which suffer from low public support and organisational weakness. This fragmentation constrains the protest movement's political leverage and complicates prospects for a unified challenge to the SNS. After 9 months of relatively peaceful protests, Serbia's streets are beginning to resemble a state of war. Clashes between demonstrators and police with batons, tear gas, smoke bombs and flares repeat night after night across the country. Neda Vrebac from the citizens' assemblies in Novi Sad has been on the streets for months. She says people are furious and that the violence on the streets is merely a reaction to the regime's violence.
We went unarmed against bayonets. I feel personally, as do other citizens who regularly attend protests, very upset, insecure, and unsafe. And that is a consequence of living under fascism with all its manifestations.
Protesters on the street often do not know whether they are clashing with police or SNS paramilitaries. Videos circulate on social media showing groups of young men in masks and carrying sticks rushing at demonstrators. Media reports claim that among the SNS supporters were individuals previously convicted of attempted murder, violent behaviour, and even a former football hooligan leader convicted for the 2009 murder of a French football fan.
The authorities, with the help of party criminals, have declared a street war on citizens. But there is no turning back. Things have come to a head. Citizens have realized that with the mafia, there is no room for parliamentary democracy. No negotiations left except about handing over power.
In a show of defiance, Vucic showed up at his party's damaged office, calling the protesters terrorists and saying that soon the citizens will be freed from this terror and evil. Vucic on August 17th announced tough measures against anti-government protesters following days of riots in the streets throughout Serbia that have challenged his increasingly autocratic rule in the Balkan country. On August 18th, he reiterated his claims that months of persistent protests against his rule have been orchestrated in the West and aimed at destroying Serbia. Our country is in grave danger. They have jeopardized all our values, normal life, each individual. He promised a harsh state response, but denied that a state of emergency would be imposed.
At one point, you will see the full determination of the Serbian state. We will use everything at our disposal to restore order, peace, and law in our country, and we will do it. We will oppose all external pressures, everyone who threatens us, who tells us what is allowed and what is not, and until now we have seen that they managed to bring chaos into our country. But we will win.
At a press conference, he accused students and citizens of trying to destroy the state, comparing them to fascists and Nazis, and said it was only a matter of days before someone would be killed. Vucic did not specify what the state response would be in the coming days. Scores of people have already been detained and injured in the past days, while police have faced accusations of excessive force and arbitrary detentions of protesters. The current escalation ushers Serbia into a period of sustained political uncertainty. President Vucic has not ruled out holding elections before the 2027 deadline, but his regime's next moves remain opaque.